The Capital One Bank settlement has captured national attention as millions of citizens await compensation for damages stemming from one of the most notorious data breaches in recent history. The 2019 incident revealed vulnerabilities not only in Capital One systems, but also in the broader digital landscape, where personal data is increasingly at risk. This settlement is more than just a financial remedy. It's a narrative of loss, accountability, and the quest for justice. Let's explore the twists and turns that led to this monumental settlement and its far-reaching implications. In 2019, Capital One, a financial institution synonymous with trust and security, found itself in the throes of a crisis that would define its reputation for years to come. A hacker had infiltrated its systems, exposing the personal data of nearly 98 million individuals. The breadth of the breach was staggering. Social security numbers, credit scores, banking details, and sensitive personal information were all compromised. For customers, this wasn't just a breach of data, it was a breach of trust, a vulnerability that left them exposed to identity theft, fraud, and financial instability. The fallout was immediate. Customers began noticing suspicious activity on their accounts. Unauthorized transactions, loans they hadn't applied for, and credit card fraud became alarmingly common. For some, the financial repercussions were devastating, with entire savings wiped out and credit scores shattered. But beyond the monetary losses, there was a profound emotional toll. Anxiety and fear gripped individuals who no longer felt safe entrusting their personal information to a financial institution they once relied on implicitly. As the reality of the breach became clear, anger boiled over into action. Customers demanded answers, accountability, and restitution. The legal system became their battleground, with individual lawsuits quickly coalescing into a class action suit against Capital One. Plaintiffs alleged negligence, claiming the bank had failed to implement adequate cybersecurity measures to protect their data. Capital One, in its defense, acknowledged the breach but downplayed its culpability. The bank argued that the breach was an isolated incident and emphasized its efforts to mitigate the impact, such as offering free credit monitoring and identity theft protection. However, these measures did little to appease the affected customers, who saw them as reactive rather than preventive. The stakes were immense. The plaintiffs sought compensation for financial losses, credit damage, and emotional distress. Meanwhile, Capital One faced not only the prospect of significant financial liability, but also the erosion of its public image. After months of negotiations, a settlement was reached. Capital One would pay $190 million to resolve the claims. While the settlement was a significant milestone, it raised as many questions as it answered. How would the funds be distributed among millions of claimants? Would the compensation be enough to address the widespread damages? A detailed plan was established, offering eligible claimants up to $25,000 each. This amount would cover out-of-pocket expenses, credit repair costs, and other damages directly related to the breach. Additionally, the settlement accounted for non-monetary damages, such as the time individuals spent addressing fraud and safeguarding their accounts. To ensure a fair distribution, affected customers were required to submit claims with supporting documentation, such as receipts, bank statements, or other proof of losses. The deadline for filing claims was set for January 21, 2025, giving individuals time to prepare their submissions. However, the process was not without its challenges. For many, gathering evidence of losses from years prior was a daunting task. Others, unaware of their eligibility, risked missing the deadline altogether. Simultaneously, Capital One faced scrutiny over its efforts to prevent future breaches. The bank announced a series of cybersecurity upgrades, including enhanced encryption, stricter access controls, and regular audits. While these measures were necessary, they were viewed by many as too little too late, a response to a crisis that had already caused irreversible harm. As January 2025 approaches, the settlement process has taken center stage. Reports of $697 direct deposits have sparked hope among claimants, signaling that compensation is finally reaching some of those affected. For many, these payments represent not just financial relief, but also a long-awaited acknowledgement of their struggles. However, skepticism remains. Will the settlement truly address the scope of the damage? What happens to those who fail to meet the claim requirements or miss the deadline? For the individuals involved in the lawsuit, the stakes are deeply personal. Stories have emerged of people who spent years repairing their credit, fighting fraudulent charges, and reclaiming their financial stability. One claimant described how the breach derailed their plans to buy a home, as their compromised credit made securing a mortgage impossible. Another recounted the emotional toll of discovering that their child's social security number had been used to open fraudulent accounts. For these individuals, the settlement is more than a financial arrangement. It's a step toward justice and accountability. The resolution of the Capital One settlement marks the culmination of a long and arduous journey. For some, the payments bring a sense of closure, allowing them to move forward. For others, the settlement underscores the inadequacies of a system that often prioritizes corporate interests over individual well-being. Legal experts continue to monitor the case, ensuring that Capital One fulfills its obligations and that the distribution process remains transparent. The lessons from this incident extend far beyond Capital One. In an era where digital transactions dominate, the protection of personal data is paramount. Cybersecurity is no longer a luxury but a necessity, and corporations that fail to prioritize it do so at their peril. The Capital One breach is a cautionary tale for businesses, a stark reminder of the consequences of neglecting data protection. For consumers, the breach highlights the importance of vigilance. Monitoring financial accounts, using strong passwords, and staying informed about data breaches are crucial steps in safeguarding personal information. Additionally, the case emphasizes the power of collective action. The class action lawsuit was instrumental in holding Capital One accountable and securing restitution for millions of affected individuals. As the dust settles, the Capital One Bank settlement serves as both a milestone and a warning. It's a milestone for those who fought for justice, a recognition of the harm they endured and the resilience they demonstrated. At the same time, it's a warning of the vulnerabilities inherent in a digital world. For millions of Americans, the settlement is a step toward reclaiming what was lost, financially, emotionally, and symbolically, in one of the most significant data breaches in history. The story of the Capital One breach is far from over. Its implications will continue to shape conversations about cybersecurity, corporate accountability, and consumer rights. For now, though, the settlement offers a moment of reflection, a chance to learn from the past and build a more secure future. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, justice is possible, and that the fight for accountability is one worth pursuing.